Whew, what is up? What is up? Now, this is going to be a bit of a different video. I don't have a script. I have no plan. I have no intentions of editing this. Have no intentions of making a goofy ass thumbnail to put on the front. I have no intentions at all. I just have the intention of just recording this video and posting it. I wanted to make a video today, and I kind of wanted to touch back into a side of YouTube and just a side of myself that I've not really tapped into in a while. I'm sure many of you know, especially if you know me personally, if you've known me for a few years, I used to have a YouTube channel that I talked about business, talked about my journey. I talked about the things that I failed on, things that I've accomplished, and things of that nature, right? And I gave up on it, not because, the subscriber growth was great, the views were great. I was getting paid from it at that point and everything. It was just more that I felt as if it was too much of a hassle. I felt as if I was doing it for the wrong reasons. I felt as if I got caught up in the cycle of trying to tap into the algorithm. I was trying to tap into this side of things that wasn't really what I set out to do. When I set out to make that channel, I wanted to document my journey. And it turned more into me making YouTube videos about things that I thought would get good views. And that's just not really what I have in mind, right? And so I stopped doing that about a year and a half or 2 years ago. And recently I was on a trip out in Mexico, and I was just thinking, and that was kind of the purpose of the trip itself, was just to think and ponder and feel a little bit. And what I came to realize was that there's so many things that I've learned. There's so many things I've failed in. There's so many things I've succeeded in that I want to share with the people who are in the same situations or similar situations that I was in a couple years ago, or maybe when I was 14, or maybe when I was 20. It doesn't really matter. Like, things that I wish someone would have shared with me or told me to make my journey to where I am now a little bit more manageable to some degree. And maybe I would have avoided some of those harder times, and I would have avoided those traps and things that I believe slowed me down to some degree. And so because of that, I realized, it doesn't matter. The thumbnails, the editing, the B-roll, the music in the background, none of that shit really matters. And I also noticed when I was on that trip that a lot of the videos that I watch about finance, about things like this, I don't watch the ones with the editing. I don't watch the ones with thumbnails. And so with all of that to say, I decided, I want to make this channel. I don't care what happens with the subscribers. I don't care who watches this, honestly, or how many people watch this. I just hope that I can provide value to any of you who do watch this that would have been beneficial to me throughout the process of this journey of life and the journey of business. Now, I wanted to talk a little bit about today about just my journey, my story, talk a little bit about the things that have happened leading up to, where I am now. This month does mark the month where I've now made $1 million. IRS, I'm just joking. But made $1 million across the businesses that I do own or partially own. Not necessarily saying all of that's gone to my bank account. A lot of that has been reinvested back into the businesses to help grow them. But this was the month in which I did reach that. And it's been an interesting feeling. A lot of things have happened, I've kind of upgraded the house and things of that nature after years of living in a house that I always wanted to upgrade, right? So it didn't get that immediate satisfaction, but I wanted to just talk about that today. And like I said before, I have no intentions of doing all the editing and the crazy shit. And if you see me on this channel get to a point in which I am doing all that, please call me out and send me back to this video. But I don't think that's going to happen because I don't have the time to do that, right? A lot of these people in the world of business make their money by talking about business, and then some of these people make money by doing their business, right? And so I guess with that said, I guess we just get started. So like I said, the purpose of this is just to kind of not only tell my story, but tell the lessons that I learned along the way that have allowed me to get to where I am now. And I'm not making this video to brag. I'm not making this video to be cocky. It's kind of pointless. That doesn't help me in any way, so I have no need to do that. But it's more of just hoping that the younger version of me, not only necessarily age-wise, but also maybe just in the world of business-wise, would watch this video and use this video to go further than I am at now. That's the goal of this. So I guess we get started from the beginning. So like many of you, especially if you're in the world of business, I was one of those kids that just was so deep into the world of like video games. And like even when I was 8, 9, 10 years old, I was doing things like, jujitsu and karate at the time, or playing basketball. But what I really loved to do was just playing video games. And when I was about 12 years old, I ran into this thing called Minecraft. And I'm not going to dive too deep into this, but Minecraft, the whole purpose of it and the sole purpose of it, was like building and beating the game. But whenever I played it, my whole purpose of playing the game was to always see how many diamonds I could get, how many emeralds I could get, like get the most jewels, get the most, resources and things of that nature, right? And even as time progressed and I started to play, more competitive Minecraft, and I started playing on factions and servers and all these things, I always wanted to just be the richest one on the server. And I know that sounds weird, but a lot of these people wanted to be the strongest or the best fighter or have the biggest base. I always just wanted to be the richest. I could have no base, no friends, no PvP, no kills, anything. Just as long as I was the richest, I was happy, right? And what was interesting about that, and as I look back on that, was that it kind of set the blueprint for how my life has gone, because as people are trying to chase the popularity and the clout and the fame and all of these things, especially people that I know, right? I've always been the one who's like, I'll happily be in silence and just make money, and that's okay, and I feel like in this day and age, people aren't able to just talk about money. And but anyway, and so it was one of those things where I noticed, like, even early on, it was always been my goal. Now, whenever I turned 14, I really started to notice that it was truly my goal. When I was 14, I started going Costco. My mom had a Costco card, which was so clutch. But I started to go to Costco, and I would buy bags of candy. So I'd buy 50 bags of Skittles, the sour ones. That was important because they always sold better. I'd get 50 bags of Skittles, and I would get that thing for $32, $32.99 at the time. And I would go to school, and I would sell it for $50, give my mom $5, and then keep about, $10 worth of profit. And I would do it. I used to be able to sell about 50 bags of Skittles in a week, roughly. And so that was kind of my first little hustle. Now, what I would also do at the same time that was my at school hustle, because I hated school. I've always hated school. I went to college. I dropped out of college. I hated college. But at school, instead of learning, I was just focused on selling Skittles, and then until I got caught. But anyway, and then at home, I was actually in art school, which is what I ended up going to college for. And I would go home, make spray paintings of like planets and stuff like that. And then I would sell that. I would sell those to people like on Facebook and stuff. So I had a hustle at school and a hustle at home. And that's kind of what I did. Now, I did that for roughly about 2 years. About a year and a half in, I got caught at school. It was my sophomore year roughly. And they were like, we're going to expel you. Or they threatened to expel me. I did it again. And then I got in trouble. And then they were like, listen, we're really going to suspend you. Like, stop. Then I ended up stopping, committing to the whole paint thing. Just to kind of lay the premise that this has kind of been a lifelong hustle to some degree. Now, after that, I had turned 16, and I ended up going to work at a place called Dino's Pizza. Shout out to them, in which I was doing dishwasher work. So I was just in there, pretty much any free time I had, just working. The whole focus and the whole purpose was I didn't know what I was going to do with the money, but I just wanted more money. It was kind of like similar to factions in Minecraft, in which people were out there partying, people were out there playing sports, and I was training in kickboxing and MMA and things like that. I wanted to be an MMA fighter at the time. But still, like, none of that really mattered. Even the only reason I was doing MMA and jiu-jitsu was because I wanted to make money, right? And so whenever I would get free time, I wouldn't work Monday through Thursday, obviously, school nights and stuff like that. But Friday, I would get off school at about 2 p.m. I would go to work from 3 p.m. to 10 p.m., wake up the next morning on Saturday, work from 11 a.m. to 11 p.m. Sunday, I would work from 8 a.m. I had the opening shift until about 4 or 5 p.m. roughly. And then I would go to school the next morning, restart, go, do my thing there, and etc. So it was a slow grind at first, and I look back and it feels like lifetimes ago in which I was in there, but it's just one of those things where I look back at that journey, just going from like selling things on my own and then selling paintings to going to a job, right? Because in my mind, that was the better thing to do. And I've always pondered that. Like, I was working as a dishwasher literally every free hour that I had on weekends. And goo and slime and gross food, leftovers, water getting dumped on you. It's just disgusting, right? And that was my job. And I somewhat enjoyed it to some degree. And I've always kind of sat back and thought, like, why did I go from doing my own thing and selling candy, not making much, but making something, selling paintings for $30 or $40, and I would make, it'd take me 4 hours to make the paintings or whatever, to getting a job in which was paying me more, but I had a lower quality of life. And it's interesting. And what I do always regret is that I regret not experimenting and exploring more in my earlier 15, 16, 17-year-old age, in doing my own stuff, freelancer work with art or selling whatever it was, right? Selling candy, not drugs, stop that. But selling whatever I could, right? I do regret, and I look back on that, and I regret so much just not committing to working for myself and trying new things out while I, had the time and I had the ability to at a younger age with no responsibilities. And so first lesson there is, if you're 15, 16, 17, you, in my opinion, use that time to explore how can you work for yourself. Go cut grass or wash cars and do things like that, because you're going to learn so much more on that job than you will at a normal job that you're probably going to put yourself in a position in which if you end up getting a job, you're probably going to advance through that job even further because you have so much experience relying on yourself to make important decisions, right? But anyway, so my journey continues. I left Dino's about 2 years later, and I go start working at a place named Buckle. Now, at Buckle, your job is to harass people. I'm joking, Buckle, don't sue me, but what you do is they walk in the door, you have to try to sell them as many clothes as you possibly can. When you do sell them some clothes, you get a percentage, it's like 3 to 5% or something like that. Now, on top of that, you also get an hourly pay. At the time, I believe I was getting paid $9 or $8 an hour, plus like 3% commission, any clothes I sold. So say I sold $100 in clothes, I was given $3 of that, which I thought at the time was amazing. Then I look back at it, I'm like, damn, that really is not that good. But it did do better. Now, in this process, I was about 18 years old, and I worked at Buckle from 18 years old to 20 years old, roughly. I just turned 20. And what I learned at Buckle, which was interesting, was that no matter how hard, when I was a dishwasher, no matter how hard I worked, I was still getting paid the same amount. But when I went to work at Buckle, I learned that the harder I worked, the more customers I helped, the better attitude that I had, the more due diligence that I did on that person. Just before even talking to them, just looking at them, scoping them out. What shoes are they wearing? What jeans? What shirt? What hat? What bracelets? Things like that. What I learned was that the more that I did things, more energy I put in, the more energy I extracted. The more value I added, the more value I received. And that kind of started to spiral really fast for me. I started to recognize that it feels, right? It feels more, what's the word that I'm looking for? Satisfying. Maybe I felt more gratification every time that I sold a pair of jeans than I did when I worked an hour for someone else, right? I maybe made more working an hour for someone else, but it felt better knowing I went out and earned that, physically earned that, when there's variables and there's things that are introduced that'll either make you more money or lose you money, right? And so because of that, that really started to spiral for me at about 20 years old, that I know I can do this somehow. I know I can figure this out somehow to make more money, the more energy I input. And that's lesson number 2, is that the more energy you insert into things, the more energy you should be able to extract. The more value you insert, the more value you should extract. And apply that to things. If you're noticing you're in a place, and this is in my opinion, again, I'm talking to the younger version of myself. If you're in a place in which the more energy and the more value you input, you can't extract more value, that's not a place in which you will truly see substantial growth. I just don't believe that. Now, going forward because of this, I then started to venture into the world of stocks. Okay. How did I get here? I really don't know. I was just, by then I had graduated. Obviously, I was 20 at the time, and I was in class, and I was like, okay, what can I do I was about 19-ish, 19/20. And I was like, what can I do to kind of make money even when I'm in class? That was kind of my goal. I'm in class, I'm in school, I can't sell candy anymore because in college, you'll really get into trouble for doing that. So what can I do to make money? And instead of selling snacks, I just decided I'm going to sell stocks. Don't really remember how I ended up getting here. Okay. Now, in this process, I went on something called Robinhood and M1 Finance at the time. And I just started buying Apple stock. Why Apple stock? I don't know. It was the one, if you had an old iPhone, there was an app called Stocks. And at the top of that always was AAPL, Apple stock. And that's the one that I saw the most. So that's the one that I bought. Great marketing by Apple. And I started to buy it. Now, whenever I was buying it, this was roughly 2018, 2019, and this was a time in which the market was doing really well. And so because of that, I started to notice, like, holy shit, I can actually make money and not do anything? And then that kind of screwed me up all the way, right? Because the lesson I had just learned at work was that you add more value, you extract more value. But the lesson I'm learning here is maybe you don't have to always add value to extract value. Maybe I can add upfront value and extract back-end value. Extract value on the back end for more substantial or longer periods of time without having to do anything. And then my whole world blew up in front of me. I was like, yo, what is going on right now? I can make money and not even do things. Now, in my brain back then, I thought stocks just go up. Clearly, that's not the case. But you get the mental picture that I was starting to paint for myself at just 18, 19 years old, was that if you can do a lot of work and, input energy, extract value, use the value you extract to create more value without having to do anything, now you're in a mindset, now you're in a frame in which you can actually start to compound your growth. And this is when the whole idea of entrepreneurship, the whole world of business, everything started to just click for me back to back. Now, not only did I'm a rabbit hole jumper, by the way. Not only from this point forward did I start just heavily investing every single dollar that I made at work because I was still working at Buckle. But I was also now reading books and watching YouTube videos and starting to learn what in the world any of this stuff meant, because I truly did not understand what any of this was or how any of it worked or what any of it meant to any degree. And that's when I stumbled over a book called Rich Dad, Poor Dad. And that's kind of the book that, whatever you know about Robert Kiyosaki, it doesn't really matter. That was the book that truly opened my eyes up to the world of entrepreneurship. That these lessons that I had learned weren't just things that I learned. They were actual, true, facts about life. There were things about life that other people had also experienced. The more value input, the more value extract. Using your money to compound your money. Using your money to make you money when you're not doing anything. So all of these things, the motion started to click. And I was like, okay, what do I have to do this? This is what I want to do. What do I have to do this? And in my brain, I was like, well, I need to start a business. What type of business? No idea what type of business. What do? Because I'm impulsive. I dropped out of design school, one of the best design schools in the country. And I immediately applied to business school at the same school at UL. Now, I get into business school. And at this time, when I get into business school, I'm roughly 20 years old, 19. Again, the dates are a little bit hard to remember. I decide that I'm making money in stocks. I'm doing well. I'm watching YouTubers make money on stocks. I want to document my journey. So I started a YouTube channel called My Crypto Journey. My Stock Journey. I'll get into that in a minute. My Stock Journey. Now, what I was doing at the time was just making YouTube videos about the stocks that I was buying. A lot of Apple and the different little penny stocks that I thought were cool and just stuff like that, right? And I was doing that on the side. That's going to be important in a second here. But anyway, let's fast forward. So a couple months go by. I'm still making those little YouTube videos. Now I'm in business school and I'm trying to learn this whole business thing. But the more time I'm spending in college, the more time I'm realizing this is bullshit. The things these people are teaching me just don't make sense to me. It was hard for me to wrap my mind around, why am I learning this? Why am I taking this prereq? Why are you telling me I need to go learn how to do pottery when my goal is to learn how to run a business? Because it's a prereq. Yeah, things like that just didn't make sense to me. And I started to get this internal resentment for school. I started to hate school, right? And I had always done well in school, but I never really liked it. But I never hated it like I did when I was in business school. When I was in high school, I graduated with a 4.1 or 4.2 because I took these little AP classes. But I never really liked school, but I was just enough that I would focus and pay attention most of the time. When I was in business school, I started to hate it to the degree that I just stopped showing up. I stopped going, I stopped caring, and stopped paying attention because in my brain, I felt like I was wasting my time. I was on a scholarship that paid for my attendance, so it made me feel like I should go, but I didn't want to go. I started to hate going. Now, interestingly enough, at the time in which all this started to happen, it's now 2021. Now I'm 20 years old. And in 2021, my stock journey, which was doing okay, led me into the world of crypto. I started to learn about Bitcoin. I had actually bought Bitcoin on Robinhood a couple years before that, 2 years before that, for $3,000 or $4,000 and sold it at a gain of $800 or something like that, and then forgot about it. Never even knew what it was. People were talking about it. I just bought it, whatever. Now, we had just went through the pandemic, so that's when crypto's really popping up, really blowing up. Everyone's talking about it, and then my journey gets led there because of that. I have this stimulus check money. I don't know what to do with it. I'm hearing about Bitcoin and Ethereum and XRP and all these things, and I decide that's what I want to invest in, right? So then I start to invest more and more into it into 2020, beginning of 2021. What I also realized was that the YouTubers I was watching started to go from stocks to crypto, and I was like, well, that's what I'm going to do. Now, interestingly enough, this again aligns perfectly with the time in which I started to hate college. I started to hate it. And the more hatred I had for college, the more I was doing well in YouTube. And at the time, I thought it was just coincidental, but now I realize it wasn't. What I realized is that my body internally recognized that there was a better opportunity somewhere before I even think my mind realized it. Because the less I paid attention in school, I'm not telling you to do this, by the way, it's just what happened to me. The less I paid attention to school and the more I focused on YouTube, the better I got at YouTube, the better my videos got, the quality, the overall presentation, my speaking, all of these things that just got better and better, leading me to get more subscribers and so on and so forth. Now, one day, as I'm literally not going to school for probably about a week and a half now, I get a call from a guy like, hey, don't know if you know who I am. My name is blah, blah, blah. What we do is we bring YouTubers sponsored videos. We have a company that wants to be featured on your channel. They want to do an AMA with you. They'll pay you $2,000. Now, mind you, at the time I had maybe 15,000 subscribers. And I was making at the time about $1,300 a month. And when he told me that they would pay me $2,000 for one video, I just genuinely did not believe him. I was like, there's absolutely no way. Now, a couple of days goes by and the company comes through. We jump on a Zoom. I record it. They pay me $2,000 and I post the video. Now, what do? Impulsively decide I'm dropping out of college. This is the way. Now, I'm going back and forth on this decision for a couple of days, and I recognize this is what I want to do. Now, funny enough, at the same time that all this is happening, I got my first video, which was a stock video, by the way. Crypto is really breaking up now. We're going absolutely insane. This is around March or April 2021, and a thing called SafeMoon comes out. Total piece of shit company. Total scam. Absolutely terrible. Now, looking back at it, but at the time, not many people really knew that. Everyone was excited about it. We were all like, what is this? What does it mean for crypto? Is this the next big thing, etc.? And I was one of the first ones to start talking about it on YouTube. Just like, this is what it is. Don't know if it has a future, but it seems like there's potential, etc., etc. Now, because it blew up so much, my channel went from 15,000 subscribers to 30 to 40 to 45, 50, 55, 60 out of nowhere. I mean, literally in a span of 2 or 3 weeks. And as this starts to happen, the amount of sponsorship offers starts piling in. We'll pay you $3,000. We'll pay you $4,000, $5,000 to make a video for 30 minutes just reviewing our company and telling your audience if you like it or not. And at this time, I decide I'm done. I'm for sure going away from school. I'm not going to go back because I'm sitting in class learning from people who've never run a business before. And although this is just a YouTube channel, not really a business, at least it's something that can teach me on the job, which is something that I learned about years ago whenever I was working for myself. And so I was like, you know what? Because of this, I'm leaving. Call my parents, call my dad, call my mom, let them know I'm not going back to college. I'll explain it all soon. Okay. Were they all that supportive? They were supportive, but they were questionable. They were like, oh, I don't know, like that's scary, but hey, we trust you, do your thing. Because I never usually put myself in terrible situations, except for a few times. And because of that, I decided I'm going all in. Now, fast forwarding just a little bit here because I want to get you through this story. At the time, things went absolutely haywire. I started making money. I probably in a span of, 2 to 3 weeks really started to rake in more and more money. And I was just like blown away without even knowing what was going on. I was making $1,300 a month. Next thing you know, I was making $20,000 in 1 month, $15,000 in 1 month. Mind you, I'm 20 years old at the time. I don't know what to do with that type of money. And one thing I forgot to mention is that the moment after I got paid that initial $2,000, right? I forgot to tell you this. After I got paid that $2,000, my channel got hacked and I lost everything. And I almost stopped YouTube. And I almost was going to go back to school, but I decided I'm going to give it another month. I got my channel back, and then everything happened after that. I just forgot to mention that because it was kind of like a pause. That's why there was a delay between the 2,000 and me ended up dropping out with the money coming in. But anyway, so a couple months goes by, and now I've had consecutive months. I think in April, I made like $30,000. In May, I probably made like $25,000. In June, I probably made like $30,000, $40,000. I can't really remember exactly. The numbers were somewhere around there. And it was the moment in which I realized that everything that I had learned on the job, selling candy, selling the paintings, then going to a normal job, realizing I don't like a normal job, then using that to go to a job where I had more control over, recognizing the value in, the value out, things like that had led up to this moment and that I needed to capitalize on it because this is a once in a lifetime opportunity. Now, as time went on, I pretty much spent about a year, roughly, from 2021-ish to 2022, just making YouTube videos, getting sponsors, telling my audience, hey, this is a sponsored review. These people wanted to pay me to review the platform for you or review their company or whatever. And just that was about it for me. Some months I made only $6,000 or $7,000, only quote unquote. Other months I made $25,000, $30,000, right? But it's all I did for a course of about a year. And I think from 2021 to the end of 2022, I had probably made $300K maybe or something like that. Because again, I was just racking up like for 16, 17 months, $20,000, $30,000 over and over and over again. Now, a lot of the time, and one thing that I learned very early on was that I would go out and I just wanted to spend that money. I'd get paid $20,000 or $30,000 and I just wanted to spend it on anything I could. And I did, right? I did. Don't get me wrong. For my first 4 or 5 months, I was just buying dumb shit. I had a watch collection that I bought, 15, 20 Fossil and Guess watches, kind of shitty watches, but some look good. Buying those, going out buying a Versace watch, going buy 10 pairs of shoes in one day, going to the bar and, I was, doing my little thingy thing, right? And spending $1,000 in the bar in one night, just shit that I shouldn't have been doing, right? But I did. And what was interesting was that whenever I was younger, when I wanted to make money, I want to make money for the shit that I can buy, the things that I can do. And what I recognized so quickly within those first 3 to 4 months of spending all this money was that it got old extremely fast. And one thing that I recognized about myself that I still apply to my life today was that it's not necessarily that I like doing things, it's that I like knowing I can do them. At this point in my life, I probably could retire, roughly. With everything that I have going on in the businesses that I have, if I just sat back and let them happen, I probably could retire. But I would never retire. I just like knowing I can retire. There's cars out there that I want, Lamborghinis or Ferraris that I could buy now, but I don't want to buy them. I just like knowing I can buy them. And that's what I recognized so quickly. And that's lesson number 3 that I would give to my younger self is that you need to make sure that your motivation for making money isn't directly honed in on the things that you can buy or the things that you could do, except for like travel or whatever, but like specifically materialistic items, because it's going to get old fast. You might say, well, it's easy to say that after you've done it. And that is true. You need to experience it yourself for you to truly understand it. But at the end of the day, it doesn't hit like you think it's going to hit. That first 2 months might hit, but after that, it just doesn't feel like you would think it would feel. But I haven't gone just shopping just to go shopping and bought a lot of stuff in probably months now at this point. I go out every now and then, buy a shirt or buy a watch or do whatever I got to do. But realistically, I don't really do it. And the reason being is because that dopamine wears off fast. The materialistic dopamine hits and then it slowly starts to hit less and less. And then that's when you recognize that you truly need to find a why and a reason as to why you want to pursue this. Because if you're endlessly working every single day to pursue something that doesn't give you satisfaction anymore, you will enter into a weird ass state of depression. And I've been through it, and trust me, it's not fun, because you start to question, why am I doing this? Making all this money for what? I don't feel like spending it. But what I recognized early on, and kind of based off of my own family dynamic, was that my whole goal, my drive, my reason in life was that I wanted to live a comfortable life. And it was just that simple. I wanted to have a wife, which I'm engaged now. I wanted to have kids. Not yet. Relax. I wanted to have a nice home that I can educate them and show them how amazing of a world it can be. And I wanted to travel. And after going through the dopamine hits of materialistic items, that's what I recognized, was that the reason I was working wasn't for all the complexities. It was actually quite the opposite. It was that I wanted to live the best simple life that I possibly could. And so, like I mentioned before, that lesson that I learned as I went through that next year was that you have to find a why that's greater than materialistic items. Trust me, they will not last long. So a little bit of time goes by. And listen, if this pauses at any point and stops, my camera or my computer just froze for some reason, I'll just restart it, but I'm not going to edit this, okay? But anyway, so as time goes on a little bit further, I start to recognize something. I had all of my eggs in one basket, and I had a month where I made, and this is going to sound a little bit ridiculous, I only made $5,000. This was at the end of 2022. I only made $5,000. And the issue was that at the time I had now bought a house. I had now some bills. I was more used to the lifestyle. And I had let my lifestyle kind of inflate up to a point that wasn't really sustainable. I was paying people this, that, and the third, paying editors and a whole bunch of shit I didn't need because I didn't know any better, realistically, right? And in that month, I actually went negative for the first time. I had made $5,000. I had spent like $8,000. And it hit me to my core, like, I don't like that feeling at all. Now, because of that, I recognized something. This is the biggest lesson I've ever learned in my life, was that when you have an opportunity, it's not individualistic. What does that mean? It means that when you have an opportunity to do something, there are multiple other opportunities that will be a result, that will come as a result of that initial opportunity. An amazing example, I don't know if you know who Sean O'Malley is. I'm a Sean O'Malley stan, but he's an MMA fighter, right? And you would think as an MMA fighter, the opportunity that you have is to go punch people in the face and get paid for it. But what Sean O'Malley has said is, look, you don't only have to do that. You can use the platform you build through fighting to go, sell merch, or you can, build up a podcast or sell drinks or do anything of that nature, right? You can use that platform to build up these other revenues and these other avenues that can supplement that initial platform. And that's a beautiful example of what I learned, was that when I was only relying on this one opportunity, this initial thing that I had built up, the moment that one initial thing goes through any fluctuations, and it's a big fluctuation or a big drop to the downside, you're going to start to panic a little bit more. And then that panic could cause even more volatility or struggle with that initial thing. And so I recognized, although yes, that opportunity is amazing and you need to focus on it, you can use an opportunity to break off into multiple other opportunities. And that was what really kickstarted me going from 300K to $1 million. But before we get into that, I am going to just stop it. I'm going to stop the camera, stop the computer. I've been flowing. I just want to make sure that this gets recorded. So I'm going to pause this and restart now. Okay, so going after that, when I had that month where I went negative, spent $8,000, made $5,000, I recognized, okay, I have to do something as a result of me panicking about this. The panic that I had, the desperation that I had, the worry that I had in that moment in November of 2022, that I was not making enough money to sustain what I was doing, caused me to make less the next month. The next month, I made $3,900 or $4,000 and spent $5,000 even after cutting out $3,000 of expenses. Lesson number 4 or 5, where we're at right now, don't let your lifestyle inflate to pass your sustainability point. You need to figure out what's your sustainability point. What is the number that you should always be able to achieve almost no matter what the circumstance is? How many yards can you definitely cut? How many cars can you definitely watch? How many sponsored videos can you definitely do? How many fights can you definitely have? That's your sustainability point. You for sure will always get that. Don't let your expenses ever go past that, because you will panic. But in the moment, in the midst of that, I remember I called my dad and told him the situation. He was like, bro, you are causing these issues. You're not clear-headed. You're getting desperate. You're freaking out. And that's causing you to do worse. Think about this. If you're an MMA fan, or if you're a football fan or basketball fan, if your team starts losing and they lose their focus and get desperate to win, what's going to happen? They're going to lose. And that's what happened in the world of business for me. And so when he told me that, I had that moment like, okay, I need to figure this out. And so what I decided was like, okay, well, I'm still making money. I know I'm still making money. And I know other people are still making money in this space. I had friends, my homie Samuel Hoge or Connor Kinney or these guys, like other YouTubers, they were also making money. And what I recognized is that there were times where a company would come to say, sponsor my channel. And then they would be like, do you know any other YouTubers? And I was like, yeah, I know other YouTubers. I know Connor, or I know Sam or whatever. And what they would do is they'd be like, oh, can we get videos from them? Well, I would get the sponsored video from maybe Connor for like $3,000 or Sam for like $5,000. And them, Connor and Sam, would give me like 10% of it. And one night, I'm just laying in my bed and it clicks to me. It's like buckle all over again. I'm adding value, and I'm extracting value. But there's also something else here, that if I can sell someone else's product, I can get paid a commission or a piece of said product. I don't just have to sell my own product. I don't have to just sell my own spray painting, or I just don't have to sell my own candy. I can sell other people's candy without spending the time, energy, or effort to get the candy or get the spray painting or make the jeans or do whatever you got to do. And I could receive. And that's when it clicked to me. I'm making $1,000 or $500 for a sponsored video, but I'm making the same amount if I get someone else that video. And I was like, hold on. I'm doing less work, taking less risk, and I can do more by not doing my own videos or focusing on my own videos and getting other people's videos. What if I could have 10 Sams, I get them all a video in 1 week, now I make $5,000 that week. That makes sense. So what do? Next lesson. When you have an idea, go for it as fast as you can. Okay? Go for it as fast as you can, because what's going to happen? You're going to ignore the idea. You're going to sit on the idea. Something's going to happen in your life. Your car's going to break down. Your girlfriend's going to break up with you. Something's going to happen. Your dog's going to die. You're going to forget about the idea. You're never going to implement the strategy or the idea that you had, and then you're going to miss an opportunity. Stop wasting opportunities. That's what I would tell my younger self, because I did it for so long. And I acted on it as fast as I possibly could. I was like, you know what? I'm going to go for it. Let's just see what happens. So I text all the homies. Hey, Connor. Hey, Sam. Hey, you. Hey, you. Hey, you. If I can get you a video, will you give me 10% or 15% of whatever I bring you? And they're like, I don't have to do the work to go get the video deals? Yeah, absolutely. And so I'm like, okay, let me figure this out. So anytime someone reaches out to me, I would just let them know, hey, I'm friends with a bunch of other YouTubers. I can get you a video at a better price than anybody else can from them. Why don't we see if, I'm sure you have a marketing budget you're spending. Why don't I get you videos from everyone else? And they're like, oh, absolutely. And next thing you know, in my first week of doing this, I made $300. Now, I know that's not a lot. It doesn't sound like a lot, but it opened up something to me. It made me realize something. There's an opportunity and there's a proof of work. That's the next lesson. You just need proof of work. Don't sit back and analyze and figure out, will this work or will this not work? Just go figure out if it's going to work. How do you know if a lawn care company is going to work where you are? Go ask people to cut their grass. Or a mobile detail, go ask them to clean their car. I don't care what it is, or window clean. It doesn't matter. Go figure it out, because that was the moment to me. I spent 2 days planning this and just went for it. And within 4 or 5 days, I made $300. And I recognize if I can make $1, I can make $1,000. If I can make $1, I can make $1 million, right? So because of this, I spiral hard, and I mean extremely hard. Emailing every single YouTuber I know, hey man, if I get you YouTube videos, would you do this? Building up these big ass packages. I'm like, one of these people are gonna buy a $50,000 package. I'm gonna make $5,000 off of it. I'm also reaching out to every single company I've ever made sponsored videos for, like, hey, I can get you video deals from all these other guys. Like, would you be open to it? Getting a bunch of no's, getting rejected, realizing that it's a dumb idea, a good idea, but slowly over time, I'm making more and more. $300, $600, $800, $1,000 a week, $1,000 a day. Now I'm recognizing, holy crap, there's an opportunity here that I never even recognized. This is when the lesson that I told you about earlier gets implemented. That an opportunity isn't individualistic. It's not just one thing. You can branch that opportunity. Trees don't grow straight up, trees grow branches. That's what I look at it. Every opportunity that comes to you as a tree, it's gonna grow its trunk, and then the branches are gonna sprout off of it. And then that's what creates the beauty of the tree. And it doesn't mean you only have to have one tree. You can have a bunch of trees, but each tree has its own branches, and those branches are external opportunities off of that one individual initial opportunity, okay? And so I recognized I can use the name I built. I can use my reputation as being someone who's going to shoot it straight with you one way or another. I can use the connections and the network I built, which I'm going to get to in a minute. I can use all of these things to make more opportunities happen. I can use this YouTube channel to build other shit. And that's when everything changed. Realistically, this is like the last week of December of 2021 when everything changed. Fast forward through 2022. I grow up my network. I start to reach out to every single marketing agent, company, person I could think of about letting people know, hey, I have all the connections to all the YouTubers that you can possibly think of. Let me know. If you want any videos. I start reaching out to other YouTubers. Hey, I've worked with this guy to get them deals. I'd love to get you deals. I built up that credibility. I built up that reputation. People knew that if you need YouTube videos, I'm the guy to go to. And that's whenever things really started to grow out of control for me. All of these companies and people were coming to me. They were letting me know, hey, Tyler, I need YouTube videos from this guy. I need YouTube videos from that guy. Now I'm just randomly doing this, right? People are paying me to a wallet, and I'm just texting the YouTuber, hey, like, I need this. Can you make a video for them? Here's the payment. Okay, send me my commission, etc. And then it kind of goes overboard, okay? This is roughly May of 2022. May of 2022. The agency was now generating, because I knew 50 YouTubers that I had in my list. I had 100 marketing agencies that I reached out to, because I was emailing people every single day, right? And they were, I believe I had facilitated 180 deals within a span of 2 weeks, which is ridiculous, by the way. And because of that, I got overwhelmed. I got overworked. We're coming up on the next lesson here. I got into a position where I couldn't handle it anymore. I literally lost money because I couldn't handle it anymore. There was too many deals. I was losing track. I was forgetting who was supposed to get paid. I was sending the wrong payments to the wrong people. I got overwhelmed. And because of that, I had like 5-6 deals canceled that lost me about $12,000. And in this month, I made $30,000 again, and things had picked up with my own YouTube channel. So my YouTube channel made $10,000-15,000, and this made $30,000. So I made $45,000 that month, but I could have made 60, could have made 70. But I didn't, because I got so overwhelmed and so just overwhelmed with everything that was going on that I lost. I just lost, and I'm rambling on that. But I lost money, and it was the most ridiculous shit to me is that there becomes a point, and I didn't recognize this, and this is the next lesson, where you can only apply so much value yourself. Because you remember I told you, you input value and you extract value. But what I didn't know at the time was that when you input value, it doesn't have to be you actually digging for gold. You can be the one paying these other people to dig for gold, and you give them a place to live. Just to give an example, right? And that's when I recognized that at a certain point, not only can you give so much value that you can't give anymore, you can actually give so much value by being the one actually in the work field giving that value that you extract less value, or you lose value because of it. You lose money because you're putting in too much yourself and you don't have a system in place. So what do I do as a result of that? I realize, okay, first mistake is that I forget things. Let me start writing stuff down. I go on an app called Notion. I suggest everyone download Notion if you'd like to. And on Notion, I just created just a little to-do list. Pay this person, this person, this person, this much, this much, this much. So I created a backend. I created a system. And on top of that, I hired one of my friends in the space to just help me remember all of this. Hey, when this person makes a YouTube video, pay them for me or whatever. And I trusted this person. And what ended up happening is that from May to June, our revenue doubled. So from 30,000, we went to 60,000. Now, I had to pay my friend. I paid my friend 10,000 of that. But my 30 went to 60 and I paid 10. That's 20 extra. I made $20,000 by spending $10,000 to get someone to help me. What does that explain to me? What does that tell me? There's a saying that a friend of mine, Tim Metcalf, he told me this a long time ago. He said, I would rather have a third of a watermelon than a whole grape. It meant that I would rather have a smaller piece of something much bigger than a whole piece of something small. And it told me that you don't have to be afraid to do things with other people. You can trust people. Should you trust everyone? No. Will people screw you over? Yes. Will you run into these situations in which you're just absolutely getting wrecked because people are just doing things that don't make any sense and you're going to lose money because of it? Yes, that's all a part of the learning process. But there are good people out there. There are people out there who have your best interests in heart. There are people out there who can work with you to allow you both to get to your goals much faster. And it's the much better thing to do, in my opinion, because again, you also don't have to rely on yourself to make every single decision, which can be a little bit overwhelming sometimes, right? And so what I learned next, going from 30,000 to 60,000 in that month, was that if you create a system for what you're doing from the very beginning, and you partner with people when it's necessary, when you can't add any more value yourself, if you do those two things, you will truly scale to the next level. Now, fast forward, let's go until December. Let's go to November of this year. At the time, it was just me and my friend. Now, from that time to then, I recognize bringing more people on adds more value, builds the network, which is the most important thing in the world of business ever. Remember when I told you that I went from $300 a week to $5,000 a week? It wasn't some magical formula. I told you why. Because I had more YouTubers and more people knew me. I had a better reputation. What are all of those three things tied to? Your network. The people who know you, the people who trust you, the people who understand what you're doing, the people who know what you do in general. You network, you build that network. And as you build that network, you start to generate more value. You can give more value when you have the knowledge and the experience and the advice and the wisdom and the lessons from 100 other people than you can on your own learning those lessons of 100 other people. You'll always go further. And so because I recognized those things over time, as I built my network, more YouTubers, more agents, etc., and then I brought someone on with me to then expand our reach even further, I learned this is how I scale. So from that point forward, you remember Connor and Sam, I actually reached out to them and said, hey, will you guys help me? Now, it was a little bit less. It was a little more than that. There was conversations and back and forth and things of that nature. But again, at the end of the day, you get the point, right? Will you guys help me do this? Because what I want to do is not only just get these guys deals, I want to manage them. I want to be on the back end, managing them. Anytime they get a deal, I want to help them. I want to do the deal for them. I want to close the deal for them. Why? There's two reasons. Reason number one is it's impossible for me to get priced out. Because think about this. If my minimum that I want to make a deal for is 5% of whatever a YouTuber makes. Example, I get someone a YouTube video for $1,000. I want to at least make $50. Someone out there will do it for $10. I won't. It's not worth my time and it won't pay my bills. And what I recognized one night was that I'm going to lose at some point because people are going to come in. It's going to get kind of pushed overseas to some of those maybe third world countries where $10 goes much further. And I'm going to get priced out of this market in the opposite direction in the sense that I want too much and they're not, these people aren't willing to give it to me. But what I recognize is that if I can manage them, then anytime a deal comes to that influencer, it comes to me and there's no way to price me out, right? There's no way to price me out. And so because of that, I was like, okay, that's the goal. I want to manage these influencers, but I needed help. Why did I need help? Because although I did have a great reputation, I did have credibility, management comes with more time. It comes with more effort. It comes with more systems. It comes with all these things. And what lesson did I just learn was that if I try to take on too much at once myself, I will lose eventually. And I didn't want to make that mistake. Why? Because I'm now managing these other guys. And if I lose, they lose. And that's unacceptable. You don't get to hurt other people with your failures. You take that shit yourself. So what I decided to do was I'm going to expand out. Bring Connor on and Sam on and a guy named Mo, one of my best friends at this point. I bring Mo on and we all work together now to start managing these guys. And what was incredible was that there's this weird thing in life that's called like social proof, I would call it. And I don't think I keyed that term, but you get what I'm saying. That when someone finds out you do something for someone else, they're more willing to do it with you. And so what was interesting was when we had Sam and Connor on board, who one had 250,000 subscribers, one had 170,000 subscribers, the ease, it was so easy to go get the next guy who had 80,000. Then once we had that guy on board and we had him in the portfolio, it was easier to go get the guy with 100,000, then 150,000, then 200,000, then 250,000. And that's the next lesson. If you start small and build up a portfolio of whatever you're doing, use that portfolio to leverage yourself into the door with new customers. Example. You can say, hey, I cut your neighbor's grass. The likelihood of them then working with you goes up substantially than if you're like, hey, I'm new to the neighborhood. I'd love to cut your grass. Because there's this thing called social proof. So that's another lesson that I learned is that use your portfolio of whatever you're doing to leverage yourself in. And if that means doing something for free to get your first guy, that's what you got to do. The first guy that I managed, I managed him for free for 6 weeks. Why? Because I knew if I had this one guy on board, I could then go out and get these other guys to work with me. And so, of course, I took that lesson, and I hope you take that lesson of the social proof thing to then expand out the portfolio. So the four of us, me, Sam, Connor, and Mo, we then go out and start managing as many people as possible. We get up to 25 people, which is where we are at now. Not only are we at 25 people, now we've also taken this one opportunity, as I mentioned before, and we've expanded that out across multiple other things. Not only do we manage people, we released a platform. It's kind of like a little server for people to join. It's $100 a month, and we have over 300 active members in there now. On top of that, we also have another thing, a little product coming out today, actually, which is an indicator for the use of crypto. We have an investment firm. You remember what I said before? Not every opportunity is individualistic. We take that initial opportunity of managing these YouTubers, and we grew that out to a product here and a product here and a product here, delegating teams to handle each one of these products so that we don't insert so much value of ourselves that we end up losing. Again, remember that we delegate these teams to grow it. And now on average, we're looking at, $30,000 to $50,000 a month, with me personally being able to make anywhere from $20,000 to $50,000 every month, having now had a month of over $100,000 in 1 month. So that's my strategy, or not my strategy, sorry. That's my story. At this given point, things are doing well. Like I mentioned before, I've had a couple months recently where I've gone anywhere from $40,000 to $100,000. I could show proof one day if you guys would like. I have no reason to lie to this channel with 0 subscribers. But it's been an insane story. And this video has been extremely long. And so I don't want to get into the other side of things, that now that I am where I am, how do I feel? So I think I'm going to save that. But I hope and I pray that any of you watching who are thinking about making that leap, any of you who are thinking about taking that step into the world of business, entrepreneurship, just doing something for yourself for once, I hope this story and the lessons that I learned throughout this story, I hope you write them down and apply them to your journey. Because the things that I learned here, had I knew them before, I'd have made $2 million, $3 million, $4 million by now. And now I own my company. I own a piece of a cleaning business. I have my YouTube channel. I have 3 properties now. I have 2 rentals and then the one that I live in now. And I have a bunch of other opportunities and things that generate me income. And I feel like I could own much more and I could be much further had I knew these things prior. So please write these things down. As I mentioned before, this channel is going to be raw, uncut, unedited, nothing of that nature. I'm just going to simply just tell you guys how it is on my side, the things that I've learned and the things that I've experienced. So I hope you can apply this, and I hope this teaches you something. And so with that in mind, look, we're going to stop it here. If you're looking forward to learning more, just hearing more about my journey or my story, just subscribe to the channel or just turn on notifications or something like that, or like the video so you see the next one that I post. But I think next I'm going to talk about the biggest mistakes that I've made, or just the biggest like successes that I've had, or something like that. I don't know. Again, I haven't planned this thing out at all. I'm just going to talk about it. So again, I hope you guys will enjoy it. If you're looking forward to the next video, make sure you press subscribe, and I'll see you all next time. Thank you so much for stopping in. Peace out, everybody.